Again, my name's Dan Looney. I'm with IMAGINiT, and I have got some real brief slides here because no one likes death by PowerPoint. So, a lot of folks want to know who is IMAGINiT? How do you fit into this whole equation of all the different technologies coming together here? So, IMAGINiT is actually the Autodesk business, and we fall under the RAND Worldwide umbrella. So, some folks may not be familiar with RAND, but we're a public company. And again, mostly around the technology space. And again, the IMAGINiT piece is really that Autodesk technology. One of the other sister companies of ours that Pat mentioned is our Ascent team. So Ascent really was a company that we broke off and started really putting a lot of investment to back in 2001. And they write training manuals. So, and they do a lot of technical documentation. So if you were to go out on Amazon and buy a Civil 3D manual or an AutoCAD manual, 8 chances out of 10 we wrote that book. So we've been doing that for a lot of years. We've worked directly with Autodesk to help really put out a lot of the training material that's out there on the Autodesk material. We've got a couple other business units that fall under that RAND umbrella. I won't get into those too much just because they're not as relevant in context to what we're talking about here today, but there's other 3D softwares out there, Pro Engineer, SolidWorks. Those are some things folks are familiar with, and a lot of our clients use those technologies too, so we work with them through our RAND 3D business. We've got a simulation business as well, where we focus on some really high-end and cool stuff around the simulation piece. So we were able to acquire a simulation company with a bunch of PhDs, and they like to call themselves propeller heads sometimes, but they just do some amazing stuff in terms of taking these 3D solids and these models that we're creating and then simulating those through all kinds of things. So obviously, once we have that model, we can do a lot more with it. So we talk about digital twins and that digital transformation. That group over there does some really cool stuff. So all that to say that we pull in a lot of the different elements of the business unit to come up with a solution. And that circle around the outside there, you can see a lot of the other ones that are involved. So obviously the Autodesk piece, over to the left, we've got SBS. You'll see things around Epic Games, right? So if you've got a teenager playing Fortnite, or maybe you're playing Fortnite, I don't know. A lot of folks are familiar with Epic Games and their Unreal Engine. So once again, we have these really cool pieces of technology and solid models and all this digital content. Where do we take that, right? And so we can take that into a lot of those environments and that metaverse, right, and start doing more with it. Reality capture, with our partnership with Leica. So again, just some examples of the different companies that we're partnered with and where we can kind of steer a potential client that we have into a solution and not just, a one piece of technology or software. We have a large footprint. We're all across North America. And, so a lot of us work from home, a lot of us work from an office, but we've got roughly almost 500 folks in our company now. So, and we are all over the place, and we do match up with a lot of the different utilities that are in the room today. So the piece I'm going to talk about today really is kind of, like Pat alluded to, a partnership that started with SBS in the training material that was out there, the training material that they had, the training material and the content that we've developed over the years for all the Autodesk tools. And we've had a platform called Productivity Now that we've been introducing and providing to our clients for probably a good 7 or 8 years now. And I want to stress that it's a platform, right? So it's a combination of our technical support team that we've developed and dedicated and put a lot of resources in over the years. The traditional things that we would think about tech support, right? So I get an error message, my software won't launch, I can't plot, all those things that we've known since the beginning of time with Autodesk products, or any software really. And so we combined that with a company called Eagle Point had their Pinnacle series. And some of you in the room may already be subscribed to that, but it was a fantastic online portal of content and e-learning courses that they made available, and did a fantastic job of really kind of developing what e-learning could be. And so we paired that with our Ascent team as we continue to develop that content, build out those training materials and courses, and we've basically combined that, and we call that our Productivity Now platform. So essentially what that is, you can see the bullet points here, but it's really about that continuous learning, being able to keep things up to date, really. I heard mentioned earlier, we've got point releases every year, not only the SBS software, but all the Autodesk products. Autodesk releases software every year. You're always going to be continually learning on the tools as new functionality is released. How do we consistently adhere to the standards that are being created? A lot of the new workflows that are being created here with these tools allow us to really go back and look at, is there a better way to do this? And let's standardize on. So we want to stay consistent with that. Capturing the knowledge that the team has, being able to share that. So having maybe 1 or 2 users that are power users, all the way up to hundreds of users in a particular division or a group. How do you capture that knowledge and share it the best way possible? We do that, in a very consistent way with this platform. And ultimately, it's about increasing productivity. How do we get folks learning the tools, moving forward into a productive state? We were just talking about in the last session, the change management part of a lot of these tools. That's the heavy lift. We can all get our arms around how much a piece of software costs every year, how much it costs for a specific training class or whatever. But I think what's lost is what I would call those soft costs of how much does it cost us if somebody is not productive. And then again, I mentioned we throw in our dedicated technical support as a piece to our Productivity Now platform, and it's really just this comprehensive way that we think that we can provide a platform to really help extend what the tools like the SBS software are able to deliver. Now, again, we built this with the knowledge of we've been supporting the CAD and engineering space since AutoCAD came out in 1981. Autodesk has had that channel partner program, and we've been a part of that since the beginning. So we're really good at CAD tools, technology, engineering principles, and all those things that all of us are familiar with. More importantly, I think what we're good at is understanding how the technology gets implemented in a way that it can get adopted. And so it's easy to get caught up in the flashy objects of what a piece of software can do and all the new tools and functionality. But if you don't combine that with the context of the project, the business requirements a lot of times, and just the sheer magnitude of taking someone who is here and someone who's here and everyone in between and getting them adopted or implemented into whether it's one piece of technology or an entire solution, it's a major lift. And so how do we provide a way to do that the best way possible? We're going to jump right into what is Productivity Now. All right, so as you can see here, I'm just logged in under my profile. If this were your site, or anybody else's, it would have your logo up here. You would see your own content. And again, this is all user-based, so everyone is familiar with logging into a portal and having their own profile set up, not unlike maybe some of your Autodesk sites that you have now or your intranet site. But essentially, what we've created here is, again, just a really easy-to-use platform that folks can come in and manage their learning content, learning paths. I got my cam hat on. And so, again, I'll start with what's most evident that we try and make sure people understand is the first thing that we want folks to understand is that they can get to our support team right from inside of here. They don't have to do something different. They can come right here and they can start a support session, chat session, whatever, and start logging a case. So again, anything that's critical that they need help with, they can do it all from the same window. The other thing I like to point out is just the sheer number of applications that are available inside of this. The asset libraries that we have here are extensive. So every Autodesk application that you can think of, which is well over 100, you would have access to inside of this platform. So this is not meant to be a replacement for live training. I mean, it's invaluable when you are able to, especially during implementations with technology like this, you're never going to replace the knowledge transfer that goes on when you go and sit in front of a live class with an instructor, and you're in there with your colleagues, and you're really kind of going into the depth and breadth of what the applications are meant to do. But this is a fantastic supplement to the continued learning, and then being able to go back and revisit what you took in a class. Because we all know, again, it's drinking out of a fire hose when you're in a 4-day class or 5-day class. You want to go back to that. You want to say, hey, I know we talked about this in the class, but I want to go back and revisit it. So this is really a platform that's meant to do that, as well as give people exposure to tools that they've never seen. We get so many calls and connections from folks that say, hey, I was going through Productivity Now and I saw that you've got, AutoCAD electrical in here. What's that all about? And I, went through some of the tutorials or the classes. Can you help us understand that? We didn't even know that existed. Now, you guys know it exists because you're in that business, but you have access to it in here, and it's a good way to kick the tires, so to speak. What I'm going to do, though, is really kind of cut to the chase and just kind of go down here and drill into the SBS content that we've put in here. Well, real quick before I'll just mention one thing here. So you can see that we even have content in here from Bentley. So we've got clients that support multiple platforms, right? We've got civil engineering firms that maintain an entire Bentley platform for their DOT work or their utility work, as well as a whole Autodesk platform for all their other commercial work. So there's all kinds of content in here. Bluebeam, a lot of folks use Bluebeam, and there's even Esri content in here. So again, there's no shortage of material that's in here. It's not just Autodesk, it's not just SBS. So it's a pretty comprehensive platform of learning. And we even have health and safety in here. So we get construction folks that want to send their new guys through OSHA training. They can do a lot of that right in here and then go take the certification. So a lot of uses for this platform that you wouldn't necessarily think of specifically around just the Autodesk tools. So I'm going to scroll down here, get to the SBS tab. And right inside of here, you're going to start seeing the content that's populated. We've got AUD, we've got physical for AutoCAD, physical for Inventor, and the protection and control. So SBS has been developing their material for years. It's good. It was comprehensive. It fit the need for what they had. But when they saw how we had built this platform out, I think there was a desire to take that to the next level. And so we sat down with their smart folks and put them with our folks on our Ascent team that does our technical documentation, our training manuals, and we said, let's make this consistent. Let's do it so that all this material's in here in a consumable way, and it's easily updatable, right? So again, as every point release comes out, we want to be able to capture that and roll that into this platform and these tools. So as soon as I click on this, I'm able to go in, look at the content that's available. Right now, we're only showing 8.4 because that's all we have here. We didn't. I'm assuming we didn't necessarily want to go all the way back to all the previous releases. We wanted to start from scratch. So 8.4 is what we have in here for now. But if I were to drill into AutoCAD, for example, I could go all the way back to 2016, 2017, 2018, all the way up to the current release. So you can actually go in here and filter through some of these things and search based on just the release that you're looking for. Well, we've already got some pre-configured learning paths that are in here based on, again, the feedback from SBS of what is necessary, what are some of the prerequisites, and basically we put the titles of all the content that's in here. If I drill down into this, I can actually look at all 11 courses that are part of this learning path. I could choose to enroll in all these at one time if I wanted to take them. Maybe I want to skip through and just hit on some of the concepts for now. I could do that and enroll in that. It'll assign me a date of when I want to complete that. One of the things that we've built into this platform is it's really a learning management system. A lot of folks here already have a learning management system that they're required to be a part of to take ongoing training at work, continued improvement type stuff. This is not meant to replace that. It's meant to augment it. It can be its own learning management system if you wanted it to be. We've got smaller clients that, that's exactly what they use it for. But we can work in parallel. We can pull data and reports out of this and even marry that and integrate it to your existing LMS if you have one. So a lot of times HR and IT folks want to know more about that. But that's something that you could do with this. But as a manager, an admin, let's say I'm a group leader or I'm a project leader, I could actually come in here and I could assign courses to my team as I'm going through an implementation, for example, or I've got new folks that are starting. I want to manage their education content. I'm going to cancel out of this real quick. Like I said, I could enroll in this whole thing all at once, and it's going to give me the ability to, again, set that date. And then if I were to go into my learning path, I'm going to see that as part of my classes that I've signed up for.
An online question. Are you
Yeah.
going to build an Ascent ED manual like you do for the other Autodesk products?
Say that again?
Are you going to build a Ascent ED manual like you do for the other Autodesk products? I don't know. I just read what was online.
Well, I think that's what this is. I mean,
That's what
I'm not sure what I know.
You're not planning on doing hard copies, I think is what the question is.
Oh, hard copies. I don't believe so. Everything that we deliver now is via like a PDF manual. If we get a request to have hard manuals on the Autodesk side, some of those we still fulfill, but most training classes now are delivered via a PDF manual. But that is a good question for Paul and the team on that side. I'm not sure if that'll be a requirement from your end.
So just I want one thing to clarify. So, and I'm just going to use Encore as an example. If we build their workflow training, which will be UDH, everything through, you could host it on here in conjunction with everything else, and it would be accessible only by Encore emails or whatever.
Correct. Yeah, and so going back to the original statement of this is all user-based. So again, I'm going to have a username, and I'm going to log into this portal, and I'm going to be able to see what I've been assigned to see. If I'm a PNC engineer or designer, I'm not going to see necessarily, unless they want me to, any AUD content or physical design content and vice versa. So we can really narrow this down and restrict it to just the data that we need folks to see so they can focus. But it also allows us to, again, target really the material that's in here. We do webcasts, we do webinars that we curate, and then we put that up here, and we're building a utility flavored version of this, so to speak, so that we can really kind of focus a lot of the material that we're doing in that space and what maybe Autodesk, or Autodesk as well, but also the SBS team is curating, and we can have a central repository of where some of this data exists, to the point of what you want to really use this for is for your own projects and customizing your workflows. So it's great that I can come in here and I can take a AutoCAD electrical class, but what I really want to do is go into that curriculum and customize how I do projects at my specific utility. So I can, and you have that ability to be able to customize some of the workflows that are in here, the diagrams that exist, and save that out as your own workflow, right? And that's where it's really invaluable as you start getting into the real meat of how do we make this an adoption platform. You have to be able to use your own projects and how you do them. Generic is nice, again, to kick the tires, but to really get over that hump, you want to customize it as much as possible to your own project. All right. So you can see here that it saved that Autodesk or that AUD fundamentals course into my learning path. I can go in there and the beauty of it is once I enroll in those classes and I start going through the different classes that are in here, it's going to pick up where I left off. So let's say I want to do this again on my own time. It's a on-demand system. So I want to take my lunch hour and I want to go through a few things. As soon as I exit out of it and come back in it, it's going to know right where I picked up. So a lot of times what we get, so especially from a support standpoint, is our clients will use Google, or they're trying to learn or ask questions and sucking the time out of the power users in the group. And essentially what that does is, it really just kills productivity across the board, because now you've got your best users answering questions instead of working or being productive themselves. And they may be great at using the software, but they're maybe not great instructors or trainers themselves. So a lot of times what ends up happening is you end up Google searching everything. So now you got 10 different people, or in large company cases, you got hundreds of people Googling something, and you get 100 different answers. Bob in his basement said I should do it this way, right? So that's not best practice. That's not the standard. It's certainly not your company's standard, right? So this is that replacement. This is where we really hope that the platform in general can assist in keeping folks moving forward on a standard basis. So again, it's real easy to go in here, come in and out of it at your own pace, be able to also have reporting on this. So if I complete a course, I'm also able to, as a manager, I can track my employees that are using it, how far they've gotten. I can set a date. Did they accomplish that on time? Again, new hires. There's other elements that we can add additional content. We've got a knowledge assessment piece that allows us to essentially, I mentioned you've got folks here and then you got folks here and everybody in between. And from a knowledge perspective, how do we capture that? How do we know where folks are starting? We've all seen the examples where, okay, let's just put 27 people in the room together, all at a different point in their learning, and try and just have everybody either keep up or wake up when they need to, because everything else is below them. So knowledge assessments are critical of being able to track who knows what and where can we slot them, in their learning process.